Today's objective is solving inequalities using addition or subtraction. Here's a definition you should write down. An inequality is a statement that is not equal. We've been doing equations up till now, and they've always been equal. This is not equal. This should be a review. The inequality symbols are greater than, less than, and if it has a line underneath it, we say greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. I'm not going to talk about the alligator or the crocodile eating something. We read the statement going from left to right, and one way you can remember it is the space between these 2 points is a lot more than the space between those 2 points because they actually touch. So reading from left to right, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. One more thing I'd like you to write down is when you are given a statement in writing, like verbal, and you need to change it to math, when it says at least, that's greater than or equal to. Think about it. If you're at Magic Mountain and it says you need to be at least 48 inches to ride the ride, do you have to be taller than 48 inches or shorter than 48 inches? So at least means you need to be more than the 48 inches. At most means less than or equal to. Because for some of the little kid things, they say you can weigh at most 50 pounds. I'm making that up. But at most, that means if you weigh less than it, you can do it. But if you weigh more than it, you can't. So this is sort of the opposite of what you would think. Least, you would think less than. Most, you would think more than, but it's the other way around. Okay, so remember that. All right. Inequalities are graphed on a number line using a point and an arrow. So I want you to write down the symbols and the type of point and arrow as I write them. So greater than is going to have an open circle. And if it's greater than, it's an open circle, and then the line goes to the right. And one thing you can do is see what this looks like, an arrow pointing to the right. It looks a lot like this pointing to the right. So you can use your symbol to tell you which way to draw your line. Less than is also an open circle, but this arrow goes to the left. So what that means is we're going to start at this number, but it's greater than the number. It doesn't count the number. We're going to start at this number, and it's less than the number. It doesn't count the number. Greater than or equal to has a colored in circle and goes to the right because it includes the number. If you were just plotting a point, if I said x equals 5, if you were going to plot that, you would just plot a point at 5. So if it's greater than or equal to, it's colored in. And less than or equal to is another colored in point, but the line goes to the left because that's the direction that this little inequality symbol is going, to the left. All right? So inequalities, I read this. So let's graph x is greater than 3. Here are the points that you need to do. Steps. Here are the steps you need to do. Number 1, you draw a number line. Okay? It doesn't have to be much longer than your answer. Number 2, you put 3 lines on. For me, I just want 3 lines. Okay? These are the increment lines. Kind of try to space them the same distance apart. Then you write in your 3 numbers. I want your answer in the middle. So here's our answer. And then I want the number smaller than your answer and the number larger than your answer. You don't need to find where 0 is. You don't need to make, 27 marks on it. I want your answer in the middle and the number on either side. Because if it's positive, it's different than if it's negative, where these numbers will go. Then draw your point and draw your arrow. So is this going to be an open circle or a closed circle? Well, it's just greater than, so it's an open circle. And which way is my line going to go? Well, that's pointing to the right, so my line's going to go to the right. And when I do it, I actually kind of make it heavy like that. Let me make a better circle so that it shows on top of the line. Please notice, your point is on your number line, your numbers are below your number line, and your line goes over your number line. These numbers are not on top, and the line is not on top. Let's graph a couple more. Let's graph x is less than or equal to -2. Okay, we draw our line. We put on our 3 points. Put your answer in the middle. and then put the numbers that go on either side of that. Well, in negative land, it's a -3 and -1, because remember that's negatives. Is this going to be an open circle or a closed circle? I should say open point or closed point. Well, it's going to be closed because it's or equal to. And then the line goes to the left because that's the way our inequality symbol points. Let's do one more. Graph x is greater than 6. Make our line. Draw our 3 increment lines. 6 goes in the middle. So it goes 5, 6, 7. This is going to be an open or closed circle. Hopefully you said open. And the line goes to the right because that's the way our inequality symbol is pointing. It's very handy. Notice, in my answers, my x is always on the left. If you do not have your x on the left, you can't use your inequality symbol as your arrow pointer. We'll have some on the other page to practice. All right, let's do a few problems. Solve x plus 4 is greater than or equal to -2 and graph, then check. I know you were worried that we might not be able to check, so I want to tell you we're good on that. So it's the same as if it was an equation. We do the inverse operation. This is adding 4, so the inverse would be subtracting 4 from both sides of your inequality symbol this time. And then the x comes down, +4 and -4 zero each other out. You bring your inequality symbol down, and now -4 and -2, they are the same signs. So we sum, add them together, we get x is greater than or equal to -6. First thing you're gonna, well, now we need to draw our lines. And then the first thing you think, is this gonna be an open or closed point? It's going to be a, hopefully you said closed point. Let's put our numbers on. Forgot to write that down, Mrs. Bowden. They're negative, so they go the opposite way. So it's going to be a closed point, and which way does our line go? Well, it's x is on the left, so we can use our inequality symbol as our arrow, and that's pointing to the right, so we color in going to the right. Okay. Now I'm going to show you 2 ways to check this. If it's greater than or equal to, you can choose your answer number. Okay, you can choose -6. So I did that. I plugged it in, substituted it into my original equation. -6 plus 4 is greater than or equal to -2. I combined my like terms. -6 plus 4 is -2. And I say -2 is greater than or equal to -2. And that's true because it is equal. Okay, so I'll put my little happy face. Yay! But let's say I picked a number greater than -6. Let's say I picked -2 or 0 or a billion. I don't feel like writing that many zeros, so I'm not going to pick a billion. All right, now do your problem. -2 plus 4 is greater than or equal to -2. -2 plus 4, the signs are different, so you subtract. It's 2. But is 2 greater than or equal to -2? Yes, it's greater than. So if your inequality has a or equal to, you can pick this number. But if it doesn't, you have to pick a number either greater than or less than. And you're not going to get the same thing because it's not an equation. Okay? This one you have the same thing because it's a or equal to. Let's solve another problem. X minus 8 is less than 3. We'll graph it, then check it. So we add 8, do the inverse operations on both sides. We get x is less than 11. So let's draw our 3 points, put our numbers on, and now we're ready to think. Is this going to be open or closed? Hopefully you said open because it doesn't have the or equal to. And which direction does our arrow go? Which way does this point? It points to the left. So it goes to the left. All right, now let's check it. This says x is less than 11. So one number that's really easy to always plug in is 0. Because is 0 less than 11? I mean, there's an infinite number of numbers you could pick, but I'm going to pick 0. So 0 minus 8 is less than 3. What is 0 take away 8? It's -8. Is -8 less than 3? Yes, it is. So we did it correctly. Okay. I could have picked 10. 10 minus 8 is 2. Is 2 less than 3? Yes. Okay. There's a bazillion, infinite number of numbers. All right. Let's do another one. Solve and graph, then check. 18 is greater than x minus 8. What's wrong with this problem? I can't do this problem. It's written the wrong way. No, you can do the problem. Okay, we'll just fix it at the end. We don't need to fix it now. Just because the x is on the right now, that's okay. Do the regular work. The inverse of subtraction. Addition. Add 8 to both sides. 18 plus 8 is 26. Bring down your inequality symbol. Bring down your x. But now we need to rewrite this correctly. So you have to be a tiny bit careful when you're writing this. This is highly mathematical, so please pay attention. This is how I do it. I say the pointy part is by the x. So when I rewrite it, I make sure that the pointy part of the inequality is still by the x. Another way you could do that, if that was too mathematical, this one's a little less mathematical. Ready? The big part is by the 26. So when you rewrite it, make sure the big part is still by the 26. Okay, that was a joke, okay? Well, it's not a joke, you need to write it this way, but that's not hard at all. All right, so now what do? We draw our line, I already did that. We put on our numbers, 25, 26, 27. We determine, is this an open circle or a closed circle? Open. And which way does it go? To the left. Okay, note, if you did not switch this around, you would still get that it was an open circle, but which way would you draw your line if you were looking at the arrow? You would draw it to the right, and then I would mark you wrong, because you were wrong. All right, let's plug in a number, or substitute in a number to check. I said x has to be less than 26. What's a number less than 26? 0. 0 is less than 26. Okay, now I need to do the math. What's 0 take away 8? Negative 8. Is 18 greater than negative 8? Yes, yes it is. Yay! All right, one more. This one we have to combine like terms. Negative 16 is less than or equal to 4 plus x plus 7. Remember, you can't start moving things from one side of the problem to the other side, I almost said equation, until you've combined like terms. So, negative 16 is less than or equal to 4 plus 7 is 11. I'm going to write x plus 11. Could have written 11 plus x. It doesn't matter. But I'm going to write x plus 11. My inverse operation, subtract 11. Now these are the same sign, so we're going to sum. I hope when I'm making these little pauses that you're saying the answer. And so I say negative 27 is less than or equal to x, because that goes away. But I need to rewrite this. I'm going to rewrite it over here. X is, okay, the big part's by the x. Make it the big part by the x. All right, now if I'm going to graph that, it's really messy when I write like this, isn't it? So I have negative 28, negative 27, negative 26, open or closed circle? Better have said closed. And which way does it go now? Points to the right. Okay, so if you left it like this, you would have gotten a closed circle, but you would have gotten it wrong. Now let's check. Tell me a number greater than negative 27. 0. 0 is greater than negative 27. So now let's add. Negative 16 is less than or equal to 11. Is that true? Yes, that's true. I'll say yes, make a happy face. And that's it.